Wow. Thank you for actually showing up. I only give you a very, very, very short lunch break, so I'm really happy you're all here. But I know you're not here for me, obviously. You're here for our next speaker, another friend of mine. He's a best-selling author, and I mean, he's one of my closest friends, so I'm really, really happy that he's here with us. You already know who he is. I don't have to make a proper introduction, so we'll just call him out. Brian Solis, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Paul.
How are you? It's good to see you. Look at this crowd, all there for you. I'll meet you in about whenever you finish.
All right,
okay?
I'll see you here on the couch.
Exactly.
Good afternoon. I am so excited to be here. I'm a little bit geeky right now because this is my first time in Beirut. And so far, you're the first I've seen of it because I landed at 5 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for being here. I want to share with you, there's a lot of sides of my work, and one of the sides I wanted to share special with you is the story behind the story. So a lot of the things that maybe you don't see or read about in my work. And that has a lot to do with one of my passions at the moment, which are two things, experience and innovation. And I'm sure you've heard the word innovation a million times today, but it's one of those words that I don't know that we really, really appreciate. Just like the word experience, it's one of those words that we always talk about, but I don't really think we appreciate it as much as we should. And I want to share with you some of the stories around my work and experience and innovation. And the first is this. This is a book that I just came out with about the future of experience design. How to design experiences, whether you're a startup, whether you're a brand, whatever it is, whether you're an artist, how to design experiences that get to the root of what an experience is, which is something that's human, something that you feel, it's an emotion, and it happens not just once, but every single time you come into contact with that product, that art, that service, that company. The other piece about this that I thought was very ironic was that I was writing a book about experience design in a digital economy. Writing a book about experience design in a digital economy. It just didn't make sense. And so I decided to spend time actually understanding innovation. How could you take a book, paper, that's been around for thousands of years and make it innovative for 2017? And I studied teenagers, and I studied their relationship with their phones and their favorite apps and their attention spans and what resonated with them, what made them share experiences. And I took all of those insights and I reverse engineered it onto paper. So the book actually became an analog app of sorts. And it was mind-bending. It really changed my life. It was hard. I wanted to quit 1,000 times. But I'll never write a book the same way again because we've pushed forward now. We've reinvented what a book could be because life has changed. The standards for how we go through life have changed. Human beings are different. We're becoming different every day as a result of the relationship we have with technology. It's 2:30. The only reason I have a full battery is because I just woke up a couple hours ago. If I was here all day, I would be freaking out trying to find a charger or a battery or Wi-Fi because that's how we connect to life. And it's this human source that I really look to for inspiration when it comes to thinking about experience design, thinking about innovation, thinking about it for not just my ideas, but what society wants or what society could benefit from over time. Another word that's used quite a bit is disruption. But it is a gift. It's something that you either get or something you give. I believe we're all here together today because it's one of those gifts we want to give to someone else. We don't want to be disrupted. We want to disrupt someone else. And it's this game, disrupt or die. And we've seen it over and over and over again, not just with the big companies that are now starting to fail. I call it the new Kodak moment, that moment where we lose touch with how society is evolving, where we lose touch with the things that are very, very personal, experiential, aspirational, inspirational to the people we're trying to reach. I believe that disruption is a threat, but I'm a hopeless optimist, so I want to see the good in everything. I want to see that disruption is also an opportunity. And it's really an opportunity if we take a step back. It's very easy to get caught up in the latest innovations, the latest startups, the latest technologies, the latest trends. It's very difficult to actually be able to see them beyond what they represent. Psychologically, we have a tendency to see new technology and apply its possibilities to the world we know. But the real possibility for disruption is when we step away from that, when we start thinking differently from an experiential standpoint, how it affects your life, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. Because once you've experienced something so great, regardless of the industry, it becomes the standard. As a human being, that is the standard experience you want. This is going to be different for everybody in this room. What you love, what you love, what you love, it'll be different. Maybe there's some similarities, but that is the standard you now hold for a great experience. We have to look outside of our industries. We have to look outside of our worlds in order to be able to see what is it that is inspiring behavior differently in order to inspire innovation for us. Looking at our competitors does no good. Everybody has to now constantly innovate, and the best way to do that is to look outside of your space. I mean, just think about iTunes. iTunes at one point was the great disruptor, and now Spotify completely made iTunes feel obsolete. It at very least feels very old. I think that if you're not making people angry or mad in terms of your competitors, you're not doing the right thing. You should be pushing forward. You should be pushing people outside of their comfort zones, because it's very easy to stay and try to innovate where you call your center or what your reference point is. In the last 20 years, I've probably helped launch over 1,000 startups, and I've talked to, I don't even know, tens of thousands of startups. And if it's one thing that's clear, is that everybody has an idea for what the next startup should be. Everybody's really passionate about that idea. And now what's starting to happen is that ideas are becoming a commodity. So what is special? Well, I've noticed some interesting trends. The whole idea of having an idea is what most entrepreneurs really love. But it has to be more than that. Vision, empathy, those are true competitive advantages. Ideas are just something that you start to build upon, but it's what you do with it. It's how it comes to life. It's how it affects other people. That's your measurement. Because the fact that we have our startup, that we pitch our startup, that we're always talking to new companies with new technologies. If you're a big company and you're looking at internal innovation or you're looking at external innovation with startups, it's not a competition, even though every conference has a startup competition. Every single one of you has to think about what's truly innovative, what's truly experiential, what's truly impactful for the people you're trying to reach. Because no matter how much we think about design or how much we think about ideas, it doesn't matter if it doesn't affect people in a better, more positive, productive, efficient way, whatever that is. This is a GPS device that's standard in pretty much every new car. Engineers spend millions in technology and resources to design this. But it sucks. They all suck. And when you get into a car, chances are you probably put your phone in front of the screen and just use Google or Apple Maps, thereby completely annihilating all of that work that went into the GPS innovation. I'm sure they don't accept this, but it's a reality. I just took this picture in Amsterdam because it was, that's the exact point I'm trying to make. I'm putting that into my presentation. Or if you talk to, like I do, a lot of companies who are pitching their startups, it's we're the Uber of this, we're the Uber of this. In Silicon Valley where I live, I have the Uber of gasoline. So I can take out my app no matter where my car is, and a gas truck will come to my car. I don't even have to be there, and I will come back to a full tank of gas. Innovative? Awesome? Yes, cool. But now there are 20 companies just like that. Not all of them are going to make it. Every day, there are stories about new apps, new messaging services, new technologies. And we're really now starting to get into this copycat game or this iteration game. And I think a lot of us are losing touch with innovation. We're chasing the money. We're trying to be better than the person before us. If you look at any number of the thousands of chatbots that are out there right now, if you've not tried one, wait, because if you're looking for a horrible experience, you can get that anywhere. But a lot of this is tied to the vision of what we're really trying to do. Are we trying to make it so that you can really order flowers through Facebook? Maybe, maybe not. But I think the exceptional entrepreneurs, the exceptional engineers and developers have greater vision. The experience has to take front and center, not the technology. Artificial intelligence, fantastic, but now go another step. Bring another layer into this. What is the experience that I'm going to have? Because technology is at its best. If it's one thing we're learning from everything that we see today, technology is at its best when it's invisible. Every device, every app, every service that you see is teaching you that. It's reminding you that. This is a picture that I got from my friend Loic of someone sitting outside a restaurant wearing Samsung gear. But most of the experiences that you go through when you're wearing AR, VR goggles today is also like chatbots. It's demonstrating the technology, but I'm not really doing anything much more innovative to bring you into this new world. One of the things that I found that I think is going to be the next frontier is this idea of experience architecture. How can you build this layer of experiential design that's immersive but also transcendent, that takes technology and pushes you so far away from your center that it becomes your new center? And this is the hardest part because we get so caught up with technology. Just because we can code and build it, that's supposed to be the innovation, but that's now what the commodity is. I call the Internet of Things the Internet of Shit because all of these devices don't talk to each other and they're easily hackable, as we saw with the Internet a couple of days ago. It's because we were just trying to implement functionality into something new, which is basically like the new remote control for televisions. It's not getting any better. In fact, they're getting worse. Or the same when we think about your app, or for the brands in the room, your company's app, where you try to put too much stuff into one thing and just killing the experience. So I think that there's a choice. As entrepreneurs, as executives, as strategists, as investors, I think we have to look at our opportunities and split them up this way. We do nothing and we just keep trying to innovate the way that we've been trying to innovate. We copy the latest and hottest trends. We jump on chatbots, we jump on AI, we jump on VR, AR. Or we now start to think about experience architecture as the possibility for how we use these new technologies in new ways that change your life. Not just complement it, or not just give you something that's cool to use for a little bit, but something that literally changes your life, whether it's at home, or whether it's at work, or whether it's at the hospital, whether it's at your bank, whatever it is. When I sit down with entrepreneurs to talk about their ideas, I just get all kinds of things that make me want to say, look, as much as I want to help you, I can't. And here are the most common reasons why I cannot help you. It's like everybody else. It's a novelty. It's trendy. It's over-designed. It's maybe too feature or function focused. It's got an unrealistic valuation. These are the things that I come in contact with more often than not, as a judge, as an investor, as an advisor. experiences are something that I feel are deeply personal. And I think that if you take any source of inspiration, it's where you step back and you say, this is who I am today. This is what technology can do today. But I think what's really special is what could I do with this technology to transcend who I am to who I want to be, and who you are and who I think you could be. And how do I use technology to build a bridge there? That's where vision starts, and that's the hardest part. This is a cartoon I had made as I was trying to make a point to a lot of technologists that technology and code and the ability to code, all of this stuff is hitting us so fast that we need actual people to think about how this matters or why this matters. In a world of machines, humanity, I believe, becomes a killer app, and there's just not enough of that thinking. I believe that the next 10 years are going to happen because of us. That's why we're all here. But for a lot of other people, the next 10 years are going to happen to them. They're just going to live life and use technology that's given to them. We have a choice. We have an opportunity to give them things that are actually going to send them on a different path. So when we think we're being innovative, I've actually found over and over and over again that we're actually being iterative or incremental. And I wanted to call these things out because they're really, really important. Iteration is doing the same things better. Innovation is doing new things that unlocks new value or new behavior. Only one of those leads to a path of disruption, which is doing new things that make the old things obsolete. One or two, whatever you do doesn't matter as long as you understand the differences, as long as it's on your path. No one saw Snapchat coming out with glasses. And everybody called it, well, didn't Snapchat learn anything from Google Glass? Absolutely they did. That's exactly why there's not a HUD built into an ugly pair of glasses. They understand who their user is. They understand the experience that they want, because if you're on Snapchat, think about the number one thing you do besides selfies. You're always sharing experiences. And they wanted to facilitate technology to bring to life those experiences. So now Snapchat is a digital lifestyle company. If you've ever heard of The Void, if you haven't, check out The Void. They have taken augmented reality and virtual reality, and they pushed it forward. At a time where all we were thinking about is what are we going to put on our face, they thought about the whole point of this is to put your whole body into another world. And so they force-invented a lot of technology that you wear in addition with this, and then they got into this whole idea of experience design inspired by game designers, so that they build a world that fuses technology and design, but also physical objects in this world, so that those physical objects come to life and you feel it. It's sensational. That, to me, is when someone takes powerful technology and starts to push it forward. Magic Leap. I'm sure you've heard of this company, the big, secretive, multi-billion-dollar company that's going to change how we experience the real world and the virtual world. But all of the things that they're doing are related to both technology, but also, like The Void, they're thinking about what is that experience going to be like for you as a human being when this is out. So what you wear and what you do. It's experience architecture. This is where the best companies are now starting to think differently. At a time where, and this is in an infographic that I have yet to announce, but I call it the Wheel of Disruption, and it's something that I update every year and a half. When it first started, it was just a few circles. It represents all of the disruptive technologies that are now starting to make its way into reality, and ultimately how it affects society. So the core, the technology on the outside, and its effect on society on the outer ring. I can't even keep up with this graphic anymore because there's always something new. What isn't so prevalent in all of this is the vision that takes this technology to actually change society. People like you and me have to figure that out, and I think that's the real opportunity. But also thinking beyond just the technology or the app or the service, but thinking about it as an ecosystem. The best products have become ecosystems. You guys remember when Twitter was cool? Well, to me it still is. But this is a map that I created many years ago that showed the API community, the developer community for Twitter, before Twitter killed the developer community. This is when I felt Twitter's golden years were, when it had an ecosystem. Now Slack is demonstrating what Twitter could have had with its ecosystem. That you open up an API to enhance the functions in a complementary way to make that technology, to make that product instrumental in everything that you do at work and life. Jason Costa wrote this great post a couple of weeks ago, A Tale of Two APIs, where he compared Twitter's ecosystem, or once thriving ecosystem, to Slack. And it inspired me. That's exactly what we need, is we need more vision. We need this blueprint for an experience architecture and to build a massive network of people who bring that to life to create a universe that you cannot live without once you've tasted it. So I believe that if you're waiting for someone to tell you what to do, you're on the wrong side of innovation. There's something inside of you, something that you feel, or something that you want to feel, or something that you want someone else to feel, and that becomes, I think, the premise for true innovation. The technology is an enabler for that. I think in a post-Jobs era, one where we're questioning Apple's ability to innovate. In fact, a lot of headlines last week were, did Microsoft just out-innovate Apple at their big conferences? And it kind of looks that way. But the one thing that Apple always had, and the one thing that Microsoft is starting to get, and the thing that I think we all need to appreciate a little bit more, is that we have to start with the human factor. An experience is something that you feel, it's something that you sense, it's something that you interpret, and it's measured by how you react. When you use something, when you're not using something, all of these things add up to the experience. The best experiences become memories. That's where I think your competitive advantage is. It's starting to look at what people want, or what people don't know what they want, but then they have to have it once they get it, versus what we think they want, or what we can create, or what our idea is. It's now starting to answer human-centered questions that lead to the design. For example, if you get a moment, take a look at IDEO's 12-week video in inventing the new camera for the Apple Watch. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant story of human-centered design leading to innovation rather than technology starting the innovation process first. And if you know Simon Sinek, a friend of mine, he's always talked about start with why. It's a very powerful book. It's a very powerful message where you really look at, hey, look, at the end of the day, every company on the planet knows what they do. At least they should. And some companies will be able to tell you how they do what they do. But very few will be able to tell you why they do what they do. And that's where the story really comes to life. That's where your story comes to life, your inspiration, your aspiration, your user's inspiration and aspiration. And you think about where those technologies, where those features, where those benefits are going to add value. Some will come to the geeks in the early side of the bell curve. Some will happen to the early market majority. But the point is that you're thinking about your markets differently. Not all users are the same. Not all users should be your users right now. They have to grow into it. As an entrepreneur, as an innovator, there are key characteristics that the best share. I call them the innovator's superpowers. These elements, I won't go through all of them, but these are the common elements that they all share that pushes them forward when other people don't move forward. And then there's the kryptonite. People get caught up with money, or they play not to lose, or they try to be the Lone Ranger, or they are disconnected with customers or experiences or users. all of these things add up to the common attributes of failure. And I don't mean failure in a good way. I mean failure because of negligence or ignorance or arrogance. I also want to share with you, I spend a lot of time doing research with Google. And we look at user experience, we look at customer experience, we look at decision making, we look at opportunities for innovation. And these are the 8 things that Google constantly leans on to drive innovation externally, but also internally. So things like their kitchens that you've probably read about are part of the same process. But I also think that it comes back to humanity. This was one of my favorite slides. This slide had, when Steve Jobs was presenting it, inspired me to start really thinking about digital anthropology, sociology, psychology, basically the humanities. Because there are only 2 ways to influence human behavior when it comes to innovation. You can manipulate it, or you can inspire it. I think more people want to be inspired. I think more people need us to think about what's that experience so that we can design an infrastructure around customer experience, executing at that experiential level, then taking that and applying it to our user experience, that design for the products and the technology and the services, because ultimately those things add up to the brand, to what you do, to your why you do what you do. And it becomes something that we all share from a feeling standpoint. I know you hear this all the time, but I got to tell you that if you're not willing to change your reference point or your frame of reference or your center, you're always just going to iterate around what is. Whereas true innovation starts with you coming outside of your comfort zone and really starting to create a new comfort zone. You have to be willing to try new things. You also have to be willing to learn new things. The hardest part that I found was that you also have to be willing to unlearn things. Unlearning the things that you hold as standard, that you hold as sacred, that you hold as fact. Because unlearning those things strip away the very biases that prevent you from actually seeing and doing things differently. And that's where true innovation and true vision and ultimately disruption take place. You have to constantly recognize that your value proposition is only good enough today. That value proposition has to evolve and mature over time. And sometimes you're going to fail. As long as you're trying to do the right thing, failing is actually good because it's going to teach you what to do better or what to do differently moving forward. It's going to give you new experience. It's going to give you new expertise. It's going to give you a new center. And it's going to make your company, it's going to make you, and it's going to make your team stronger. As long as you remember at the end of the day that all great technology starts with a human need or a human idea or something that's empathetic, innovation begins with you. I actually believe that people will always remember your success. They won't always remember your failures. It's like that old Maya Angelou quote, if you've ever seen it. It's, people will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but people will always remember how you made them feel. And if anyone judges you based on your failures as you're trying to change the world, fuck them. Thank you. Paul!
Well, I was almost on cue. Well, almost late, actually. Yeah, I still have my camera in hand, actually, so sorry. I was taking pictures backstage. Let's sit down for a little bit before we start our next session. You just said something about unlearning, right? You wrote an article very recently, I don't remember which publication it was an online publication, I think, when you said that we were so bombarded with things that we're tending to lose focus. It is something that we all experience. We are on WhatsApp, etc., all the time, maybe, or Facebook, and we cannot focus. Is that something you've experienced? Because you share that experience in that article. Can you tell us, like 2 minutes, the story there?
Okay, so I don't know about you, but personally, I'm finding it incredibly difficult to focus because we're learning that with devices and with our favorite apps that we're being constantly tugged at. what has someone said? Has someone liked my last post? Has someone replied? And I had to write an article about how to stay focused. And I found it ironic and difficult that I couldn't focus. So the whole article turned out to be the things that I needed to try in order to teach myself how to take control of my life instead of letting technology control my life. And what should have taken an hour and a half to write took me a week. And also, ironically, I took to social media to talk about how I was trying to write about staying off of social media in order to focus, but then realizing I couldn't, so I had to go have that conversation in social media. But I will tell you this, it's a real problem. What's happening is that we're only able to focus and iterate or innovate in bursts now. And I don't know that we're ever going to fully take control of distractions, but the better we manage that, the more clarity we have.
So do you believe in all these digital detox things that people do when they like cut off Facebook for a week, or they remove an app for a week, etc.? Or is it something you actually believe in, or?
Yeah, so as an optimist, I try not to judge what people do. If digital detox is something you feel like you have to do in order to get in touch with yourself, then please do it. For me, champagne seems to work quite a bit.
Of course, I know you very well. You also, because many people know you, of course, as the author, many people know you as a consultant, many people know you, all your works around that digital anthropology, but maybe because it's a younger crowd here, and also it's your first time in Lebanon, so welcome. Maybe they don't know that you've actually been active in startups just for a long time, actually. It's not something new. You've been around since Web 1.0, which is a long time ago. Only dinosaurs like us remember that. Can you tell us a little bit of the story there?
So in the early 90s, 1991, I joined my first technology startup. And at the time, 1991 was all about hardware startups, so networking, and it wasn't very sexy or glamorous, but as a child, I taught myself how to program, and I always felt that I was going to be a programmer or involved in technology at some point. I moved to Silicon Valley in the early 90s, the mid 90s, to be part of what was an emerging internet world, so the pre-internet 1.0 days. And the one thing that I found that happened very quickly in those days was there was suddenly a lot of money, a lot of the same ideas that we talked about today, sort of perpetuating iteration instead of innovation, hyper-valuations instead of true impact. And so I decided to become a full-time advisor to startups to help navigate the entrepreneurs I felt that had the greatest promise. And so I opened a company in 1999 dedicated to just that. So one side was helping startups go to market, and the other side was a lab, helping startups reimagine their products to be more relevant. And I ran that company for 12 years, and we launched over 1,000 startups. We've helped over 100 go public, and every single one was a unique story that I had to learn over and over and over again. And so to this day, I still spend part of my time strategically advising just a few startups that I'm really passionate about, one of which just completely imploded in spectacular fashion, and I'm devastated, which was Scully, the augmented reality motorcycle helmet. If it's one benefit, it's that I actually have a helmet, so at least I have that going for me. But I'm now looking for another startup to replace that.
Are you a biker?
Oh yeah, I build Harley Davidsons, and like you wouldn't even recognize me when I'm on one of those bikes.
So can you focus when you do that?
So as a motorcyclist, I see people with their phones as they're riding, which blows my mind. Scully, for me, was this opportunity to be able to control technology in one safe and regulated environment. Otherwise, I just turn everything off, and that's my digital detox.
See, so it's possible.